Good morning, dear friends, especially our dear Salesian educators and our dear Bosconians and dear friends. One of the questions that is always asked whenever I meet somebody is, what is the difference between a cathedral and a basilica? And I could readily give the answer that the cathedral is somehow connected to the local church, to the diocese, or maybe whatever circumscription it is, like an archdiocese or a prelature. It is the church where the bishop has its see. And for example, here in Laguna, in the province of Laguna, there's San Pablo, and the cathedral is there in San Pablo. And there are other places, for example, Manila Cathedral, it's very well known. And for a long time, it has been the cathedral of a lot of places in Metro Manila, practically the whole of almost the whole of Metro Manila, where you find for example, if you're from even before from Parañaque and you belong to the Archdiocese of Manila, the cathedral is the Manila Cathedral. And when it's split into different dioceses, each has now its own cathedral. So the cathedral is the principal church of these, and the head of that church is, the cathedral is the Church of St. John Lateran, whose dedication we celebrated some days ago. And the basilica, on the other hand, is a special kind of church. But originally, it's a large oblong hall or building with double colonnades and a semicircular apse. And it was during the ancient times when it was named Basilica. No? It's in ancient Rome. It's used as a court of law or of public assemblies. Naturally, it does not have that nuance of that is religious that we have now. And so it's the construction, the type of construction there is. But we could refer also to a building similar to the Roman Basilica. And somehow that is where the connection comes in. That Roman Basilica that is now used as a Christian church, such that these ancient pagan basilicas have been transformed into churches that we call basilica. And so now, regardless whether it was built in Roman times or not, most of them came later on. It's the name given to certain churches granted special privileges by the Pope. And in fact, here they're all minor basilicas. And some of them, you know, Manila Cathedral is the Basilica of the Immaculate Conception. The Basilica of St. Martin of Tours is in Taal, Batangas. The minor Basilica of Santo Niño is in Cebu. And so on. Maybe one time I could discuss these. But now I'd like to focus on two particular basilicas. You know, among all the basilicas in the world, there are only 4 major basilicas. And they're all found in Rome. And if you do go for a pilgrimage to Italy, to Rome, it would be good to visit all these 4 churches because they are the 4 major basilicas. And they have their own, the dedication have their own feasts or days. Like, for example, August 5, it is for the Basilica of St. Mary Major, one of the 4 great or major basilicas. And then the other one we just celebrated in the rank of a feast, the dedication of St. John Lateran. And today, it's November 18, we celebrate the dedication of these 2 basilicas dedicated to the apostles. So the dedication of the basilicas of Saints Peter and Paul, which are, of course, since they are part of the pilgrimage, the must-see places, are quite popular, especially St. Peter's Basilica. You see there on your screen the 4 other converts, Salesians. Of course, he's familiar there, Father Jerry Martin, our provincial, and then my classmates, Father Dean Cortez and Father Ramon Borja, and then also Father Dean Dovito. The 5 of us who recent years are celebrating the Jubilee, 25th anniversary of profession. We have gone there for pilgrimages, and of course we would not miss these 2 important churches, the Basilica of St. Peter in the Vatican and the Basilica of St. Paul outside the walls. And they have a lot of very important details. And what you see now is, for example, for this Basilica of St. Peter, you would see there the imposing upon us is the Baroque facade, whereas you see the cupola that is part of the Renaissance. So you find a lot of not only religious history but art history also. And I'd like just to read something about this feast, okay? So St. Peter's Basilica was originally built in the 4th century, 323 AD. And it was built by the Emperor Constantine, and the basilica was constructed over the tomb of Peter the Apostle, the church's first pope. Beneath the nave of St. Peter's Basilica is the old road of the Vatican, the ancient road and the ancient cemetery, which is above ground. But later on, they built a church over that. And over the tomb, right above it, is the altar. First, there's an altar where you can celebrate Mass as a small group. And then the main altar of St. Peter's Basilica is directly over the tomb of St. Peter. And there was, after standing for more than 1,000 years, that was, the original was in 323, after more than 1,000 years, Pope Julius II ordered the building to be torn down, maybe due to structural concerns, and the construction of the new church spanned over 200 years before its completion. And it was dedicated on November 18, 1626. So that is the date of the day of today, November 18. So that was the basis. It is considered the most famous church in Christendom. The other one, St. Paul's Basilica, outside the walls. It was originally located already outside the original walls of Rome, and it was originally built by Emperor Constantine also, though it was destroyed by fire in 1823. And donations from around the world made the reconstruction possible. Before the completion of St. Peter's Basilica, St. Paul's was the largest church in Rome, and the basilica was built over St. Paul's grave. And Pope Pius IX consecrated the basilica in 1854. And these two churches continue to draw millions of faithful pilgrims each year, as well as many visitors from other faiths who are there for the purpose of looking at art from the ancient times until modern times, and especially the time of the Renaissance and the Baroque period. You would see them there. You would see the Pope celebrating the liturgy, the Holy Mass, or other, maybe the audience, no? Every Wednesday, you see the St. Peter's Basilica. That's why it is very familiar to all of us. And my personal favorite is the Basilica of St. Paul, because when you go there, there's really a quiet atmosphere and you can really pray. The pilgrims are not so many as those of St. Peter's. It's quite quiet, and so you can spend time to really reflect. And there can be many more things to say about these two basilicas. But I'd like to leave that thought to you, that we celebrate the dedication of these two churches that are named after the two greatest apostles, reminding us that our church is built on the foundation of the apostles, that we remain strong because the Lord has given His authority over these apostles. And until now, we still savor this because the church continues, because it was built on strong rock. I wish you all the best. I would like to thank those who have given, those who have shared their resources for our needy brothers and sisters on account of the typhoons that came. And thank you. You have been very generous, and we are channeling these donations to these places that have been ravaged by the typhoons, in particular the north in Cagayan and Isabela, and then also in the Bicol region. And thank you too for having supported us to our liturgical needs through the November masses that we've had. So right now, I think all the names have been dropped them, but it would be the last days that we would be taking them. Halfway through November, and yet we continue celebrating the masses every morning at 6:30. So please join us. I keep on inviting you, especially our dear members of the EPC and members of the Salesian family. So with this, I wish to greet you all. Have a great day. God bless you.